This is Rating Descending,
where we watch IMDb's Worst 250 so you don't have to.
I'm special guest host Gaden and Sousa.
And I'm Michelle St. Clair.
And this week we watched One Missed Call. Several people start receiving voicemails from their future selves, messages which include the date, time, and some of the details of their deaths. Let's watch. Oh, baby, we in the flow.
We
now.
did it.
We're in the flow zone.
Ooh, what is that? Flow state? Ooh, fuck my limbic system. Oh, how did I get here?
Michelle?
Gaden,
where are you?
Gaden, is that you?
Michelle, where did you go?
I can't see you, but I can feel you.
Michelle, I can hear you.
Can you feel me?
I can feel... I know, I'm not going to say the sentence I was going to say because it sounds weird.
I'm completely at one with my limbic system and my sensory understanding of the world. I am flow.
Hey, Michelle, we have to watch this movie.
What? Ah, it's bad.
Yeah, it's bad. You can't get rid of it. So as a special guest host, I'm experiencing what it's like to have to run an episode of the podcast.
Yeah.
And do the research and everything. And also watch more than one of these bad movies, once every 6 months when you have me on as a guest.
Yeah.
And so I would like to read out my Letterboxd watches for March, which truly end grimly, I might just say. March was a good month.
You should see mine for this month. You'd be so upset because it's been 6 episodes of this.
Yeah, that's a lot. Banking them right up. So I started the March by watching Meru and the Rescue, which are like documentaries, really great documentaries. Then I watched Tar with Cate Blanchett. And then really, really excellent, beautifully made movie. And then Creed and Creed 3. Creed's one of my favorite movies.
Who is the better fighter, Creed or Tar?
Oh, you know what? I think Tar could go a couple rounds.
Tar versus Creed.
Maybe that'll be Creed 4.
Ready? Fight!
She's just like orchestrating.
Combo. Composition.
Michelle, I watched so many other movies.
Yeah, I know, because you're like, oh, look at this funny bit I have because of these movies I watched, and then you're listing like a bunch of really good movies.
Yeah, I'm bragging to you that you didn't get to watch good movies. Because then I saw the new Dungeons and Dragons movie. Excellent. Everyone should go watch. Scream 6, The Incredibles, After Sun, John Wick Chapter 4, and then Reship Everdec 3, and One Missed Call.
All right. I mean, I don't have them written down, but do you want to hear mine for this month?
Yeah. What's your watch list for this month?
Yeah. Okay.
Because I watched some pretty good movies and 2 really bad ones.
Material Girls, Shark Night 3D, The Last Exorcism 2, Wounds. Oh, no, sorry, not Wounds. Tube Light, One Missed Call, Rejep Ivedic 3, and Hot Fuzz.
Which movie did you like the most?
Hot Fuzz.
Material Girls didn't have anything for you?
Oh, you know what? I think of those, like, Material Girls did it for, but Shark Night 3D was pretty good.
It sounds fun.
Yeah. Like, it was a good time. It was a good time.
Do you remember when like 3D TVs were like a big deal?
Yeah. And I remember at the time, most people going, well, that won't work. And then people going, and then the most irritating people on the planet going like, no, trust me.
No, seriously,
you know
bro.
how
you don't understand.
Watching your TV is really great. What if you had to wear glasses and had like a chore while watching it? And it was viciously more expensive.
Ooh, crazy. And like all that media you already own, useless.
Yeah.
Buy all new media.
Yeah, don't
please.
need that.
All
Don't
new
need that.
media.
The thing that was missing from because here's the thing that always gets me about 3D, right? Sure. I've said before, the only good use of 3D I've seen, and I saw Avatar 1, was gravity. And it's because it was the only one that was like the depth.
Yes.
The other way. Not thing come out, thing far away.
Yes.
Right? Now, aside from that, it is still a 2D plane.
It is.
It's not 3D.
Nope.
It isn't.
Nope. And it never will be?
The argument for 3D is better made by like VR, even though that is ostensibly still a 2D thing, but you are surrounded by it.
And it also has like much more like a sense of like depth and
like
vertigo and stuff people get when they're playing VR.
It's still a 2D rectangle that I'm interacting with. My problem with it was never that it was a 2D rectangle. That has never been my problem watching a movie has never been, oh, I wish this wasn't some stupid fucking rectangle. Like when I'm reading a fucking comic or looking at a painting, I'm like, ugh, this sucks. If only it was more in my face. Leave me alone. I'm trying to just sit there. It's so much overload. They're trying to like cram more shit in my face. It's fucking hell. I went to the fucking petrol station the other day and I was like 5:30 a.m. because I was driving back from Sydney, and I literally at that early in the morning, the petrol pump was now playing a video ad at me.
That is insane.
I'm in hell. Leave me alone.
That is insane. What was the ad? What was the ad for?
For like Streets ice cream.
Jesus Christ.
So much of the world makes me want to go, shh, shh,
I will say Avatar 2 in 3D, pretty good. Pretty great.
I'm sure
pretty incredible. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah. I bet I'm going to watch it in 2D and I'm going to have a good time.
Yeah, you will.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll be really good in 2D as well. I'm sorry the world is screaming at you. It's really tough. That really went from 3D televisions into...
I've been a little overloaded the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. Last week on Reshape Evodeck 3, you shared with us your philosophy on life after watching this Turkish film that clearly did something to you, snapped a neuron or two in half.
I've been going through it in terms of fucking sensory input recently, so... And I'm just glad that 3D is less of a thing. I bet better not
so
make
much less of a thing. I mean, it also makes movies better, I think. I think a lot of movies were made worse because they had to post-convert to 3D.
Yeah.
Or that whole stupid fucking boom.
I just wish companies were less of the opinion that the way to improve our lives is to make them more busy and noisy.
I mean, it is insane that you were filling up the tank of your car and an ad was just like, hey, do you want to get an ice cream, a paddle pop at 5:30 in the morning?
10 years ago, if
awful.
you put that in something set in like 2050 to show a dystopia, people would be like a little on the nose.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, it's cool.
You good? Hey,
We're back.
Hey, Michelle.
And we're back. All right. Here's your morning zoo with but Crappy and Puka Bear.
It's me, Puka Bear.
And I'm Crappy. Uh-oh. Me so sorry.
Rawr. Because it's a bear.
Sure.
Sure. I think. Oh, quick sound. What sound a bear's make?
We're out of time.
It just like turns off.
That's all we have for this week.
Speaking of bears, so I'm a single man.
I know where this is going.
Do you?
Gaden's been on a journey of
Not
self-discovery.
quite where you think it's going.
All right.
Oh, no, it's
Puka
not quite where
Bear's
you're
been
Booking and bearing.
booking and bearing. This twig's ready for the bear.
So I'm on Hinge, as is the tradition.
Not disproving the theory.
To looking for women.
Oh, okay. Well,
You look so disappointed.
get out.
All right. And a girl, like, you have like prompts on Hinge, and like people can write. You have to write like 3 answers to 3 prompts. I can't remember what the prompt was, but a girl had put in her response like, "Do you think you would win in a fight against a bear who had oven mitts on if you had a mace?" And my immediate response in reading that was, no, it's a bear. It would just cut through the oven mitts quicker than I could kill it with a mace.
Okay, I have two responses to this.
You're going to come up with something crazy, and it's going to be upsetting.
I have 2 responses to this.
Yes.
The first one is we need to know how the fit is of the oven mitt, right? This is really crucial because if I say put a sharp knife, in an oven mitt, right? Like tightly wrapped in the oven mitt.
Yeah.
And then like bring it down to try and cut something. It won't cut, right? It needs the movement. I could like shimmy back and forth maybe to try and cut through, right? If it's a sharp knife, right?
Okay.
But it needs the friction and also like the space, like because the momentum, you know, the force behind it is going to do a world of effort to make up for the sharpness. But if it's trying to cut through something first, you know, if it's like attached to a block of wood, say, if you go hard enough, you might split the wood, but you're still diffusing a lot of the force.
Sure.
So the bear isn't going to inherently just cut through the first second if the oven mitt is fit correctly. If it's too big, then it probably could, or wriggle it out, or shake it off. Like, is it attached? Is it like rubber banded?
Let's say it's rubber banded onto the grizzly bear. It cannot take them. It cannot like shake it off.
Yeah. And how talented are you at the mace? Now, when it's a mace, is this like stick with a big knob at the end, or is this like a classic like flail, like not actually used, a stick with a chain with a spiky ball at the end of it?
Well, that's a flail. It's not a mace.
Okay, great.
So I would say
when I was a kid, that was like a lot of games would be like a mace.
Yeah. No, I think it's like metal stick with thing at the end.
Yeah, because that's the thing. I think if you had, say, a sword, you would actually be worse equipped.
I think that's true.
Because
I do think the blunt force against a bear would fare better.
It would be able to withstand a lot of like slashes without much worry, and you would have to know where to stab it and be able to stab it deep enough. But a mace, like even if you just like crushed its hands, it would, or its shoulder or whatever, you would do a lot more damage potentially. If you get a good bonk on the skull, but even elsewhere, you might damage it enough that he runs away, So I think there's more factors. Now, the second half of my answer... No, you go with your response.
Well, I was just going to say, so you're saying that you, Michelle Sinclair, standing at 6'2", weighing in at, I don't know how much you weigh.
I think 87 kilos last time.
Weighing in at 87 kilos and doing this like a boxing match versus the bear weighing in at probably like 600 kilos, standing at 8 feet tall or whatever, could possibly beat the mace if conditions were... Could possibly beat the bear if conditions were right.
I didn't say that. I said you could.
It's all that kung fu training. It's all my mace training.
Very different.
Okay. And your second thing?
The second part is, I hope what you said to them wasn't what you said now, because if you're a woman and then you try and give like a funny prompt and someone goes, actually, I think I would lose to the bear instantly. That's a stupid question. You are the most annoying man on the planet.
I mean, I like to think that I'm more fun than that on dating profiles.
I know you're more fun than that in general, but you prompted a scenario in which you are not as fun as that, and that they would show that response to their friends and be like, this guy sucks.
Yeah, this fucking guy. That's true. We didn't match, so...
I know why.
I didn't actually... No, I didn't reply to the prompt. No, I have game. Just like fall into a little hole.
You're back in liminal space. How many wind sounds do we want to do today?
I don't know. We sound designed a movie. We got lots of sounds.
That's true.
Do you want to hear about this movie?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So this week we watched One Missed Call, which is a remake of a Japanese film by the same title. It was released in 2008. It's directed by Eric Vallet. I would assume you would say Vallet. He's French. It's his first American movie.
Oh.
That'll come back. It stars Edward Burns, Shannon Sossaman, Mink Dyra, and Ray Wise.
Yeah, and, returning actors. Ed Burns was in A Sound of Thunder, which that is one I would say watch, even though we did it. And Ray Wise was in God's Not Dead 2 and the archival footage in RoboCop 3.
Wow.
Yeah, he's part of the original gang that is in two shots in RoboCop 3.
Deep cut. My housemate Katie, who watched this movie with me, said Ray Wise came on screen and she said, he's from the God's Not Dead movies. She knew for some reason. She just was like, yeah, he's in the God's Not Dead movies. And then I said, oh, they've watched those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're really bad pieces of religious propaganda that really distort the truth in horrific ways.
This film was made for $20 million. And it made $45.8 million back.
Wow. Okay, so it was fine.
Yeah, did all
Moderate
right.
success.
Moderate success.
Usually 2 times means it at least did marketing.
Yeah.
Probably underwhelmed them, but they're like, well, now we can write it off in tax and not actually also lose money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and read this over you. It's too long. This movie is very confusing. And a lot of things happen in the first 25 minutes and then not a lot happens.
I think you're getting confused because you're working under the assumption that this is going to be a movie in which the sequence of events builds to a conclusion. That isn't the movie that we get presented with.
Jesus, it really isn't. Okay. A young girl is saved from a blazing fire at St. Luke's Hospital. The whereabouts of her mother is unknown. An unknown amount of time later, an undergraduate, Shelley Baum, I had to look up all of their names because I couldn't remember any of them, is pulled into her koi pond along with her cat by hand. Some days later, college students Beth and Leanne chat about Shelley's mysterious death. Leanne receives a call from Shelley. Listening to the voicemail, she finds it's a message from her future self in trouble.
Oh, the woman who was pulled into the pond was that woman.
Yes.
Oh my! I had no fucking idea how that related to anything.
This is why I had to step out so many of the details in
Yeah.
this overview, because I also
Jesus.
couldn't understand what was happening.
Oh my god.
Very quickly, she starts to develop visions and eventually falls into the path of an oncoming train and dies while on the phone to Beth. At Leanne's funeral, how they organized that so quickly, I have no idea. Her
You
ex-
organize funerals pretty quickly.
it's like the next day.
You were supposed to organize funerals pretty quickly, otherwise
okay.
there's just a loose body.
Oh yeah, that's true. I don't know why I thought otherwise. Anyway,
Usually it's a couple more days, but
it
you know,
just felt very quick in the movie.
within a week is pretty reg.
So at Leanne's funeral, her ex-boyfriend, Brian Sousa, no relation, experiences the same hallucinations. Later at a coffee shop with Leanne, he is killed by an explosion at a nearby construction site that somehow only hurts him.
After some pretty extreme edging that I'll come back to.
Very extreme. So that's like the first 25 minutes.
Yeah.
These series of deaths are all linked by a mysterious red candy that pops out of each victim's mouth. This leads Detective Jack Andrews, whose sister worked with Shelley at St. Luke's, to pick up the case and seek out Beth, whose friend Taylor has been marked as the next victim. While Beth and Jack research Mary Layton, the first caller, finding her to be the mother of the girl from the start in the fire, which is still missing, Taylor puts her trust in a TV producer, Ted Summers, who prepares to record her exorcism because he believes spiritual energy operates in the same electromagnetic spectrum as light and microwaves and is therefore transmissible via cell phones.
Absolutely unhinged thing to
It was
say.
really important. I know that's a lot of information. It's important to include.
We're gonna come back to it. That's absolutely unhinged.
Taylor is killed, and Beth receives a voicemail from her future self, marking her as the next victim. Beth assumes that it's Mary's spirit who is killing people, making her way to the burned-out St. Mary's Hospital, where she finds Mary's burned dead body. It is revealed that it wasn't Mary who was a bad mother hurting her children, but in fact the elder sibling in a very upsetting nanny cam sequence. Ellie, the eldest girl, comes to kill Beth, killing Jack in the process. She is stopped by Mary's spirit, who binds her to Jack's phone. As Jack passes away, he spits out a red candy, and his cell phone auto dials.
Who does it dial?
No,
That's one I didn't
don't know.
understand. Okay.
I think the idea is that it's continuing on. That is not a succinct overview, but it was really
But that's what
hard.
gets me. Like, is it continuing? Is the because then it's like the mom is like, I saved you, and I guess I don't know, more people will die. Whatever. That's what it felt like. That's such
to
a
me.
weird ending.
Yeah, but it felt like it was trying to do that like ooh, and it's gonna keep on going kind of ending. But
Yeah.
instead, it was really unclear, and you were just like, what's happening?
Yeah, because it really does
is
then just
this?
cut to black, which, hey, I appreciate a movie that doesn't take a lot of hay in trying to wrap up and finish. But at the same time, I'm like, just one more thing. Just one more thing.
Yeah.
You can have a look at the camera and then just tell me what's
This
happening.
movie says no.
At this point, you can do that and you won't actually lose any quality.
Yeah, hey, especially with this movie. But yeah, sorry for the overview being all over the place. This movie was very hard to do, and it's my very first one. So
No, you know what? I appreciated it. I mean, because literally from the...
it reminded you what happened in the movie.
It did. Because right from the moment this movie began, I was like, whoa, I even wrote down, wow, look at that camera move. And then my next note was, oh, it's 2008. That explains it. I'm so mad that you got a pre-2010 one. I guess I'm happy for you, but you don't know how we suffer.
I don't, because this movie at least moved.
Yeah.
Both physically with the camera and plot-wise. The first 25 minutes, 5 people die.
I do think it's funny, though, the intro, the like spooky opening credits where we see people on phones in low frame rates. And then we see similar footage, but more zoomed in and blue. And then we see a millipede.
Did you? Yeah, the millipede. Did you also like did you notice that it's like the piracy font?
Yeah.
as well.
It's the you wouldn't steal a movie. You wouldn't steal a car.
That's right.
You wouldn't steal a handbag. You wouldn't. Pirating movies is illegal. Yeah.
It's that font, and it's like, yeah, with all this like weird slow frame rate. Just
Hey kids, pirating movies is legal as long as they're going to keep mind-holding art, all right?
Michelle sails the high seas.
No, we didn't say that in public. I'm just saying,
Oh,
if one were to do it, you could make a moral case for it. Now,
One
you
might be able
should
to. One might be
continue
able
to
to.
buy and purchase art from the artists. However, when that art becomes unavailable to purchase, you might have a case to put forward for the morality of stealing it from multi-billion-dollar companies that have zero interest in the art that they hold
Or paying the artists
or paying the artist.
too, which is the most important part.
Yeah.
How was watching this movie for you? Because it sounds like it was like an oasis in the
had a great time.
desert of horrible horror films you've had to watch.
I watched this last night.
Yeah.
I was pretty feeling a little wonky, feeling a little fried, and I was like dreading it. And then I was like, this fucks. It's not good.
It's not good.
No, they're all bad.
Michelle did ask me before watching it because I watched it before her. Michelle did say, "I gotta know, is it doing anything?" And I was like, "Oh, like yeah, it was fine." I was like, "It's still bad though." And then she texted me while watching it. She said, "You have undersold this." And I said, "I didn't want to oversell it because it's still a really bad movie, Michelle. Your brain is just broken at this point."
I think one of the last times we watched one of these like pre-2010 ones that was good was Boogeyman. This is no Boogeyman. Boogeyman genuinely was I would watch again. This
Sure.
I don't know if I would bother with. But it's still, there was some craziness. The first woman who gets hit by a train, she was in Buffy.
All right.
Yeah. And so that was fun for me.
That's fun. What I loved the most about that sequence is how her body flies towards the camera.
Oh my God.
It was just so insane. And then I was watching it with my housemate. So she falls off the top of like an overpass into an oncoming train, and they've like CG'd her body flying at us.
Yeah.
And then it cuts like immediately to her body, and it's just completely fine, and there's no damage on it at all.
Yeah.
And my housemate just went, "This fucking bullshit. She would be splattered everywhere."
But then, the lead character looks through the train, and there's a guy whose head is going all like, pretty spooky.
Pretty spooky. Well, and don't forget the shot of her dead body still holding on to the phone
Texting.
and texting.
That I thought was kind of cool. I actually think that's neat. That's fun.
The idea, the premise, the idea of like you get a voicemail from your future self who is about to die.
Yeah.
That's a cool idea.
I do think I get why they remade it.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's neat.
And it's especially like knowing what I know about Japanese horror and also like Japanese storytelling, it's very weird fear in Japan of like technological advancement, even though they are a land of such technological advancement, and also like time stuff.
A lot of J horror, from my experience through this, seems to focus on like the inevitability of the death. It's not
Knowing
like
it's coming.
the very American slasher thing of the who is safe, who isn't, oh my God, and then boo, we got you, oh my God, we just stabbed you and now you're dead. The J horror thing seems to be like, it's that guy. That guy's gonna die at this exact time. What are you gonna do about it?
Yeah, it's
and they
the
all
dread,
kind of go,
the existential dread.
oh fuck, nothing, and then they die.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a cool idea. It's a cool place to mine dread from. It's just this movie isn't very scary at all.
It doesn't, because it doesn't do that.
Yeah, it doesn't do that at all. I was talking about this at a work dinner last night, and they were asking what the movie was, and I said one missed call, and a girl started laughing and said, "I watched that when I was 13 at a sleepover." And I said, "Did you find it funny? Did you find it scary?" And she said, "No, I just kept going, how this is really bad at 13. So if it can't scare 13-year-old girls or 13-year-old boys, it's not doing a good job.
No. What I love is how much everyone in the movie, like, a lot of the spooky effects are CG. Now, I'm not going to do like CG doesn't work, blah, blah, because there is plenty of movies, but also horror movies that do engage in using digital effects in a really, really effective and spooky way.
Absolutely.
Right? For one, I think 2008 was maybe a little early. And the methodology of it, not great.
Maybe on this budget as well.
Yeah. Well, because I think one of the distinct things is that they clearly told actors to look at things and didn't tell them what the thing they were looking at was, and then they just put something spooky there. There's one bit where the lead character looks out a window, and then what we, the audience, see is a fucking like a swirling storm of petals with a guy in the middle of it with like a bright orange light and like writhing around. And I wrote down he either teleported or got devoured via petal.
Yeah.
And either way, she looks on that with a mild curiosity.
Yeah, she's like, huh. It's weird.
Similarly, later, Ed Burns, when they're meant to be like looking around the house and stuff, there's a point where he looks out the window and he looks at the gooeyest fucking tree I've ever seen in my life. It's just
Disgusting.
it is disgusting.
It's really awful
It
to
is
look
a
at.
tree that is like rotten inside and out, just oozing and covered in like millipedes. And he again he doesn't even go like he just is looking as if he is just looking at the window at a normal thing.
Yes.
And then at the very end, there's the spooky demon child. Oh, we gotta
get to the whole end. I have so many
funny.
thoughts about it. The end is very funny.
So funny.
Very funny.
But anyway, spooky demon child shows up and she's like, and then the mum spirit comes and is like sucking the demon baby away. And then she
binding her to the phone, please, Michelle. Binding her to the phone.
I'm just shorthanding,
the lore of
before
the
we
movie,
elaborate.
please.
She's doing that, and then that means the protagonist, her face goes from to just like a like, oh, that's neat.
Even though she just watched a man get stabbed through the eye and die, the man she ostensibly might like.
Yeah, who knows?
Maybe.
This isn't a will they, won't they?
No.
It's a they might. They may.
Did they?
Did they? They probably didn't.
Yeah, no, not this runtime. I was trying to take notes as we were watching. I liked the opening shot, by the way, like across the.
Oh, that shot
It was a cool shot. It was a very
so
cool shot.
hard.
And there's some very nice camera movement.
There's the one where they're trying to do like there's more left, where like the camera's like looking at the burnt hospital, and then it like trucks in from all the way outside into the building and onto a close-up of the... That's a cool shot.
Yeah.
Even the bad movies in 2008 have fucking cinematography.
Absolutely.
I'm so mad about some of the sludge that's been happening.
Yeah, that we have to dredge through. Absolutely. Yeah, they're at least moving the camera, and some of the transitions are really cool.
Yeah.
One thing I thought was really cool is like, in one of the various moments where an actor was told to look at something, there's like a guy welding, and it's like a spooky guy, and then it goes like chunk, and like the helmet comes down.
Yeah.
I thought that was a very clever way to be like, playing with your perspective of like what you're seeing and what you're looking at.
Well, and there's some of the sound design, like the inhaler being used frequently is one thing, but like it's used in a way that makes it just sound like a gasp.
Yes.
Like a...
Yes.
As if
It's a very
someone's doing
violent
that.
inhaler.
And then we hear it again. We hear the and she turns around and Ed Burns has the inhaler and you realize that's what it is. That's good sound design.
Yeah, absolutely.
Used awfully, but it's good.
Yeah. Well, it's used awfully because this movie, like, it feels like when I was watching it, it felt like I had come into a movie halfway through in the first 25 minutes, which is not really a first act, because it was just like, here's a girl in a burning fire. Here's a woman in a koi pond. Who my housemate said, I don't know what she said, but her eyebrows are a problem for me. Immediately when she was on screen. And then there's teenagers at a party and they're talking about a funeral and they're talking about this. And then, she's dead. And then he's dead. And you're just like, what is going on? And it's meant to be like setting up pieces of this mystery that they then slowly unpack.
This movie also doesn't want to make up its mind on whether it's like The Ring, it's a malevolent spirit, or if it's like a spooky Final Destination.
Yes.
And they are happening to die at those times, because it kind of tries to do both, which makes it really confusing what is going on. Because then it begs the question, well, if it's the spooky demon child, then how did she get the construction site to explode, launching that one pipe to that one guy?
Just the one pipe. The whole thing exploded. No one else died.
Yeah.
No one else.
Like, how can she construct that, but then she seems to physically strangle?
Yeah, and grab a cat and pull them into the pond.
Yeah.
And speaking of the ending, her powers then become like she can create a tornado outside the house and blow up all of the windows.
Also, though, it's funny because it goes from being like a mum who's like got like Munchausen's, and then it's like the classic very J horror. Like it's now like they've turned into a malevolent spirit because of the way they were wronged and wronged others, into that baby evil from birth. And I have a fundamental problem morally every time a movie tries to go, that person's just fucked up. They're just fucked up and they were just born that way. They were born and they're evil.
They're going to cut their sister's arm, which, like, as far as the most upsetting things in the film, that sequence I did not like. I did not like at all.
It was really upsetting.
It was really upsetting, and not in like they're effectively doing their job well. It was just like why would you write this? Like, why do I have to watch a little evil child who has no redeemable qualities?
No, but you know what I think part of it was? It was once the scene was concluded, it actually wasn't that bad. Horror is effective when it gives you safety rails.
Yes.
People say some people say the opposite, but I'm fully in the camp. Like, that's why slashers are so trope based, is so that, like, at the beginning you can identify the final girl, and you know through all of the death and carnage that girl's gonna make it, right? And you can hold on to that. So much horror is like, Get Out is kind of like, you feel safe because you're like, he gets out.
Yeah. And also, like, and like in the horrors that we also love, like Get Out or like the Scream franchise, which I adore.
Yeah.
It's like the villains are beatable. They're human. I know what their weakness is. They're human. They're just weak like all of us. The best thing about Scream is like watching him run around the house and slip a little too bit much and then run into a wall. You know? Like, that's safety, because I'm like, oh, they can beat him. Whereas something like this where I'm like, it's just a spirit girl. What do you do with that? There's no agency to
You also
it.
know, like, the conventions of the genre, right? And that was the important thing of the old, like, we'll cut away from this thing or whatever. You know, I can't remember what it was, but I was watching something recently that really felt like it was going to go into a very violent direction, and that was when it cut away. And I really appreciated that as a viewer. I knew exactly then what I was going to get out of the movie. And in this, it's really sloppy in what it's signaling, and so you think it's going to go way worse, and you're like, I don't want to watch this. I didn't sign up to watch this. And then it's okay, but it signals that too late.
Yes. And so you're just left with this like bad taste in your mouth, basically.
Yeah.
From the sequence.
I will say, as one small thing, one very, very Michelle thing.
Please.
Out from the nanny cam, Ed Burns pulls a mini CD. I was
Did you come?
No, my moment of delight turned into ash in my mouth as I realized it was not in fact a mini disc; it was a mini CD, and I was like, we were so close.
We were so close.
Elysium was within our grasp, and yet we have failed the gods.
Michelle drives me home sometimes, and the other day when she drove me home, I got a 25-minute lecture. I mean lecture in that I did not partake in the conversation about why mini discs were the peak of human ingenuity. It was very interesting.
Yeah,
Do you think it's gonna make good radio? Do you want to do it now?
I probably could. I really think the mini disc is quite rad, and I do think that they are like one of the last points in physical media where we clearly were thinking about the consumer experience rather than just the manufacturing cost and ability and stuff.
Is there anything else you want to say about the movie?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, please.
We signaled it earlier. The boyfriend. His death.
Oh, yeah.
Because we talked about the construction bit, but we didn't talk about the
construction
extreme edging in the lead up to it. Because we know, like, oh, the phone thing, he's probably going to die in this moment, huh? And he kind of, like, gives her a line that is something along the lines of, like, it's just a superstition. You know, if it's not that, it is that, functionally, right?
Probably word for word is probably that.
And then he like turns around and then
Classic. Oh my god.
Oh man, you know, especially because the last person we saw killed was hit by a high speed vehicle
And flung into the camera, I would like to restate. It's really funny.
And so it's like, oh, guess he's not going to die from that. And he kind of looks back and goes like, huh. And then the movie slows because it really then wants you to think he's going to get hit. And he then like walks across the road quite slowly, what seems to be like a 6-lane road.
And the way he like is looking but isn't looking.
Yeah, he's like not quite looking. The cars are like sporadically spaced out to be like to try and maximize their like jumpy tension. And then he makes it to the other side of the road, and the protagonist, who has been looking at him in such worry and distress the entire time, and then goes, "Oh wait, you left something." And then he goes, "Oh," and then just the same walk back with the same like tension of and you're meant to be going like, oh my god, he's gonna get hit. And I'm like, go to a fucking crossing, man. And then I guess the twist is that it's actually a random explosion.
Yeah, because the ghost's power is that it controls when trains come and pushes you into the train. It lives in a koi pond and can use its hand when it wants to. It also has special powers for construction sites. And can create cyclones and stab people through doorknobs.
And if all that fails, just a good old strangulation.
Good old strangulation.
Well, but that's because, as we know, ghosts are electromagnetic.
Well, of course, Michelle. They transfer down the phone line.
I don't know why you don't understand that ghosts are electromagnetic, like microwaves and light.
I'm sorry. I need a TV presenter preacher to tell me how ghosts work and that they are fundamentally the same thing as light.
Is electromagnetic.
That scene is so wild. And then the whole exorcism scene is just so bizarre.
Oh my God. And you're playing with so much potential there of like, this is the classic sort of like ostensibly a man of God who would upset every actual believing Christian because of his clear cynicism and lack of belief.
Absolutely.
Witnessing a real demon. Like, it is supernatural.
Yeah.
We don't Doctor Who style find out it was actually a spooky alien and then they defeat him with a magic wand because of the power of science magic. Rather than real magic.
God, Doctor Who's good.
No, I know. I love how the conclusion of every episode is him going, well, actually, see, it wasn't magic. It was my fake science.
Yeah.
Now I will use my wand to fix it with my magic.
Chef's kiss. Great David Tennant impression.
I'm like, no notes. No notes. Never change. Yeah, like he should have a moment of like reconciling it, or like the real horror movie thing would be like he goes
And dies.
and then dies,
Yeah,
right? Because he
100%.
deserves to be punished,
Absolutely.
which is the horror movie thing. Bad people deserve to be punished through murder.
Yep. Of course.
Bad people including immoral thieves, scoundrels, rapists, people who have consensual sex, and teenagers who drink.
Yeah, they're all equal amounts of
Equally-
evil. Equally bad people.
Morally
All
evil.
Equally bad. But instead, he just goes, did you get that?
Yeah.
Because they were rolling on it. And
the
then
guy
they didn't
flicking
get
through
that.
his old broadcast deck. Look at that tape deck.
Oh.
Ooh. You know what? If I get to a point in my career where I have the money, you know the bit in fucking Nope where the cinematographer has his like clean glass like Steinbeck?
Yeah.
That, but with like 90s and 2000s broadcast deck equipment. Like tape workflow, mini disc, that shit. I want a room of that to functionally work.
We'll get you there.
Yeah.
We'll get you there, bud. What did you think of the performances?
Um,
Like, if you're returning, does it make him an all-star yet?
yeah, it does.
Ray-wise?
If they
Yeah.
return at all, they're an
Yeah,
all-star.
yeah. Old Road wise, what do
Ed-
you think of him?
Well, Ray Wise,
Yeah.
I think best performance yet.
He was all right. He's got a creepy face.
I always think it's really funny. He does. I think it's really funny when someone like this is also in something like God's Not Dead 2. Because
Yes.
he's in God's Not Dead 2. No one in those movies isn't a fundamentalist Christian.
Yeah.
The whole reason they're in it is usually because they can't get hired anywhere else. Because what's his fucking Hercules? What's his name again?
Dwayne Johnson?
What?
He was in Hercules.
Oh, which Hercules?
Like one he did.
Oh, there's too many Hercules. Anyway, Hercules does like really vicious, mean tweets and then goes conservative. Hollywood's hate conservatives. You know, that's why they're in these movies. For him to also play this like slick caricature of a Christian preacher in this movie is really funny to me because it makes me go like, is he a level of self-aware? Is he like, I am getting to be a Christian on screen and then it doesn't realize they're making fun of him? Because that feels very likely.
Yeah. Do you mean Tate Donovan?
No. What?
okay.
No. The old like 90s Hercules TV show.
Oh,
I mean, you're on your laptop. Isn't that how you found Tate Donovan?
it is. Kevin Sorbo?
Ah, Kevin Sorbo. That's his name.
There you go.
I just could not remember his name.
Oh, he does look. Yeah, he looks like exactly what you described.
He's the one in God's Not Dead 1 who is the atheist professor who is like, who makes them all sign a document that says God's dead, you know, but we,
Oh, that's right.
but the reveal at the end of the movie is actually he is a believer, but he hates God. Yeah.
Oh, he's.
Because that's the thing about those sneaky, filthy atheists. They believe at heart. All right? They're just evil.
Were you going to say something about Ed Burns?
He's doing the exact same thing, which is nothing.
That he does in every movie he's ever in.
Yeah.
He's pretty good in 27 Dresses.
I have not seen 27 Dresses.
He's pretty good in it. He's all right. He's not as good
What
as-
about 27 Dresses Later? That was...
I really want Danny Boyle to make that movie. I'm just imagining the cast of 27 Dresses, but in the world of 28 Days Later. Like they rock up with Cillian Murphy.
Yeah. Just because the dresses are wedding dresses or bridesmaid
She's a
dresses?
bridesmaid at 27.
Never the bride.
And never the bride.
Yeah,
Exactly,
there we go. Okay. 27 weddings is
And then-
so many.
Yeah. And then
She must be close with them to be the bridesmaid.
Yeah.
I wasn't even a bridesmaid at Abby's wedding. That's right, you were.
you weren't even the maid of honor.
She's not even here to defend herself.
She can't. Fuck you, Abby. Do you want to hear some trivia, Michelle?
Yeah, I do.
This is my favorite one, so I'm going to start with it first. Guillermo del Toro
What?
was offered the chance to direct this, but rightly, he turned it down so he could make Hellboy 2: The Golden Army, which is a movie that fucks
Wow.
so hard. So
That's
I'm
a real-
so glad he didn't do this
real
shit fire of a movie.
Sliding doors moment.
Right?
Because I guess part of the thing is, would he have been allowed to write any of it? Because if it was this script, I'm very glad he did Hellboy 2.
Oh, yes. This film was not screened for critics. I know you always love that one.
Yeah, a perennial favorite.
Sure as hell it was not screened for critics. The original writer, Andrew Clevin, has mentioned several times that he wrote the script under the assumption that it was going to be a horror comedy. And was very surprised when the movie was made a serious horror film. Regarding some of the very clunky dialogue, he said, "Those were supposed to be jokes."
Okay, because you can kind of tell.
You can kind of tell.
This is Alien Resurrections.
Yeah.
This is Whedon and Junet.
Yeah, it's meant to be. You could feel it trying to play in the scream zone.
It's Whedon and Junet. It's Clavin and Valet. It's the same thing.
some foreign filmmaker coming in and making a very serious
specifically a French director coming in and being like, yes, this is perfectly seriously. There's no jokes in here. Hello, crew, and they're like, I don't fucking understand you, man.
So to that point with Eric. So to that point with Eric Valet, being a French filmmaker coming in and going, there's nothing funny in here.
There is nothing funny.
Both him and Shannon Sossaman, the lead, have disowned the film and
God.
claim to hate it. Eric Valet even claims there is a better director's cut out there that is more close to his vision, but that has not been released on any of the Blu-rays, DVDs, and he was apparently really upset that Shannon went to the premiere and didn't get to see his director's cut and then came out against hating it. He's really upset that she hated the film and hadn't seen his perfect version of the movie.
I believe that.
Right?
That is the perfect French combination that they are so good at. The synthesis of legitimate grievance and pompous, excessive ego.
Absolutely. To that point, while in preparation for this film, he did not watch the original Japanese version at all, and also asked all the actors not to watch it either.
But I get it.
Yeah.
You want to do your own
You want
take.
to do your own thing, but I don't know. Maybe it would have been helpful.
Yeah.
Maybe. Two last little trivia facts for you. It was originally meant to come out in August 24th, 2007, but it was delayed, and I think, from my research, I think it was delayed because they forced it to become a PG-13 movie. It was meant to be R, and they must have cut out all the stuff to make it a PG-13.
Well, that means they watched it and they went, this is not very good. So to make money, we'll try and get 13-year-olds to watch it.
Exactly. Andrew Clevin, the screenwriter, has spoken about there being a very messy production where nobody working on the film could agree on what it should be, stating each group, writer, director, actors, producers, all had a different version of the film, and while any one of them might have worked, they pulled it in different directions.
That guy, he's got some witticisms. He's got bits.
Yeah. Finally, this film, this is just speaking to the time of this film, when this movie came out. When it launched with a bunch of competitions, and the first prize was to win an Apple iPhone. I just think that's kind of neat.
In 2008 too.
2008.
So it would have been like there's no number after it.
No.
This is an iPhone.
Yeah. Do you want to hear some reviews, Michelle?
Oh, you know I do. Reviews! Shit. Fuck. Oh, Michelle's coming in first. Oh, she's pulling ahead. Oh, but coming from behind is Gaden. Oh, shit, he's coming behind me. Oh, he's coming at my bottom. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Oh, no, I came second. Could tell. That was my impression of Cars.
You're going to cut this, right?
No.
Okay.
Why would I cut this?
It's perfect. It's very apt because we have the Formula One happening in Melbourne right now.
I might cut it now.
Because I said that?
Yeah.
That's so
I thought it was a little funny,
Hey.
if a little loud.
Hey, you keep it in.
Don't patronize me. What's your fucking reviews?
It's your podcast.
Yeah, that's right. You're a guest
I'm
here.
I'm a guest here. It's funnier if I say should you cut it and then you don't.
Oh my God, I'm so tired.
We're so close, baby. We're so close. We're so close. So, this movie has 0% on Rotten Tomatoes from 80 reviews.
Wait, 0?
0%.
That's one of the only ones.
Out of 80 reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, none of them have been positive, resulting in an abysmal 0% as of 2019.
Oh my God.
Rotten Tomatoes awarded the film the Moldy Tomato Award for being the worst reviewed film of 2008.
Wow. I think we've only had one other 0% on this list. Like, it's a very small list of 0%ers.
The critic consensus reads, one of the weakest entries in the J-horror remake sweepstakes. One missed call is undone by bland performances and shop-worn shocks.
I think that if anything, that's generous.
Yeah.
That reads like a regular bad review.
Yeah, it does. It's got a 4.0 on IMDb.
Classic.
That's where we live now. Some professional reviewers. Eric Kahn for the New York Press wrote, when it comes to scary movies, the Japanese have it figured out. Unfortunately, commercial filmmakers in the United States usually don't.
I get it. I get it. It's so funny, though, to say that in the 2000s, because I'd say at this point, like, Americans are doing horror really good. But,
really good.
But the period that immediately followed this is the period that I've repeatedly claimed is making me go insane.
Liza Schwarzborn for Entertainment Weekly wrote, one missed call punches the contemporary fear buttons of infernal technology and child abuse. But to redial applicable catchphrases, this garbled American remake of Takashi Miike's already staticky 2004 Exercise in J-horror is a wrong number.
Nice.
Lots of the reviews I looked at had like phone call puns.
Every reviewer was probably like, God, I'm so fucking clever. Oh my God, why didn't I write this fucking movie?
Also, Michelle, to your point about the glut of horror that followed this in America, this movie is cited as the last J-horror remake.
Oh, wow.
And is cited for stopping them from remaking J-horror.
Oh, wow.
And what shortly came out after it was Paranormal Activity, which changed the field because this movie bombed so hard.
Oh, whoa.
That's why it's related to all
that
of
explains
this.
so much.
Right?
Oh my God. So this is the missing piece in the horror history that Abby and I are trying to construct as two, at the beginning of this list, not really fans of the genre, and now having seen like tens of these movies, both in and out of the podcast. Wow.
It's a trivia I forgot, sorry. The last Japanese horror remake to be theatrically released ever since the trend started with The Ring in 2002, and it ended with this film in 2008.
Wow.
This film is often blamed for killing off public interest in Japanese horror remakes due to its critical and financial failure. At the same time, found footage horror films had started to see a rise in popularity instead, beginning with Paranormal Activity in 2007.
I feel like you could make a similar conclusion with like the Divergent series, which was so bad that it killed off the dystopian YA genre.
Absolutely.
Which made a specific hole in the market for tween girls to be brought into the Marvel fandom. And that's where you see the shift in the MCU from targeting just young boys to a broader audience.
That's a really good point. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's such a shift. Yeah, because Hunger Games was so huge and the Divergent.
You used to have Hunger Games
destroyed it.
and Iron Man, and now you just have like 3 different MCU movies.
Yeah, you have Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel and all the others.
Yeah.
Here are some.
I mean, you listed the only 2 that star women.
Black Widow.
You're right. There's 3 out of the 30. My bad.
Ant-Man and the Wasp technically stars a woman. I'm not trying to defend it.
It's called Ant-Man.
And the Wasp? I'm sorry. I'm not trying to defend it. I agree. I do agree. I agree. It's bad.
One of my favorite jokes about those movies is still Evangeline Lilly doing the best performance of her life as someone who believes in science.
That is a very good joke.
That's good. I do not come credit for that
Claim to
joke.
it. It's a very good joke. Okay, so here are 2 IMDb reviews. This one is titled Fantastic Horror Movie by Dave29. The best horror remake I have ever seen. Forget all the negative reviews. Watch it now, if you dare. Very frightening, full of scares from start to finish. Most recent remakes have been poor, but this, I could not blink my eyes. Full of suspense and kept me on the edge of my seat, easily enough to give you nightmares. This is certainly up there with the best horror films around. Don't miss this, whatever you do. One missed call is going to make you throw away your mobile phone. Seriously. Grab a copy now, and you will then know what I'm talking about. More horror films like this, and all horror fans will be smiling. Easily 10 out of 10.
That's got to be written by a robot or even like an ad team. Like Dave29 wrote the most like generic sounding review I've ever heard in my life.
I just love the addendum of like, it'll make you want to throw away your mobile phone. You'll be so scared.
I mean, there was the one bit where the guy was streaming video on his Motorola, and it was so funny to see in the modern context.
Did you know that every phone in the film is a Boost mobile?
What?
Every single phone in that film is like a Boost.
What does that mean?
Mobile. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
What does it mean?
It doesn't matter.
What is that?
Boost Mobile is like a network in
Okay.
America,
Cool.
and they clearly sponsored the film.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
As I guess did Motorola.
Yeah.
A lot of close-ups of the Motorola logo.
A lot of close-ups of the Motorola logo. And then this final review is called One Missed Review by
Nice.
J Tungsten 16. One Missed Call is my favorite horror movie. I don't know why I'm reading any bad reviews about this movie. I think the acting, directing, writing, and music in the film was superb. People really need to watch this movie and not listen to bad reviews because they will not be disappointed. It entertains you from beginning to end and even has a twist. One Missed Call is definitely a movie not to be missed. Ed Burns and Shannon have great chemistry, and that was the only thing that disappointed me was that they never got together. One Missed Call is one of those horror movies that stick with you, especially because everyone has a cell phone and gets one missed call at least once every day.
That's
So please, people, give one missed call. So please, people, give one a missed call a chance. I think you will be glad you did. Cannot believe this movie is a 4.0 on IMDb. This movie deserves at least a 6.0. I think people are being too harsh.
10 out of 10?
10 out of 10, baby. 10 out of 10.
Some people just don't know how to use IMDb.
I just love that the caveat is like, oh, it shouldn't be a 4. It should be a 6. What do you mean, man?
Yeah.
10 out of 10?
Yeah.
Jesus. I love that he wanted them to hook up so badly. And whoever this person is just really sad they didn't. Did you think they had great chemistry?
I think that would imply that Ed Burns was playing a human being and not a dummy that could walk.
So that's their reviews, Michelle. What's your review?
Look, for all of to continue the tradition of like the reviewers doing puns on the name, I'm going to go in a different direction, which is I think really back when the studio was making the call to greenlight or not make the movie, that's the missed call. Right? One missed call is accurate.
Nice.
It was whether or not to fucking make this bullshit. One missed call, more like one missed lobe, all right? A piece of my mind has been carved out, but this one was not the joy center like with Recep İvedik, but instead the thinky part. I feel like I started strong and you can hear me melting.
Yeah, melting a little. It's all right. You got there.
I don't know, man. I actually had a pretty good time. I'm actually going to go fully on the dot 4. It's not good. It's not a 5. This is not like Boogeyman where I was like, I think it's kind of a 6. It's still bad, but like it's way more fun than things I've given like 2s and 3s. I think it's a 4. I think they were right.
Solid.
I think IMDb, you nailed it.
Nice. They did it.
What about you?
I think, I also didn't have the worst time in the world. I think it does have some interesting filmmaking in it, which I can always appreciate. I think a thing with horror movies is like, at the very least, if you can appreciate some of the filmmaking, like the craft going on, it does make it a bit of a better time.
Yeah.
And this definitely had that with some cool transitions, some cool shots. I guess some cool deaths, even though they were silly. You know what? This film did have a woman flying at the camera being hit by a train, and I did enjoy that.
You loved that.
It just looked so silly.
I liked the guy who Card Captor Sakura style teleported via pedal and no one gave a shit about it or it was never explained at any point.
Didn't raise the dial at all. And you know, like you're right. If I consider the canon of movies you've watched, it was pretty fine. It was all right. It wasn't a horrible time. And it was short, blessedly short. So like, you know what? I'll do a 4-2.
Nice.
I think they did get it right.
Really, the point of this podcast is to show you when you're whinging about like how bad a movie is, how low the floor is.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. It's so much further. So much further down.
So much further down.
Hey, Michelle, where can we find this podcast?
Well, you can find us on social media. You can find us on Twitter at RateDescendPod, TikTok at Rating Descending, or you can email us at ratingdescending@gmail.com. I love the emails. I love to read them. I love to read them out. But you could also find me on my own socials. Ooh. You could find me on both Twitter and Instagram at at michelle.stclair.
Nice. And you can find me on my own socials at Gaden Salad. That's Gaden salad, like a salad, on Instagram. And the same handle on Letterboxd.
And pretty please, if you're like, fuck, I loved that. That was so
Best podcast.
good. I had such a good time. Well, then you could do us the favor of leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you find your podcast.
It would really make a
difference.
It would make a difference. It would make our day. And please send Michelle more emails. You can even tell her if you liked having me on as a special guest host. Maybe you hated it.
Don't send me that.
You don't want to hear about me. You've had enough of me.
I don't want to hear about that
that's
shit.
Fair. That's fair. Well, that was one missed call. Michelle, what will you and Abby be watching next week?
Next week, Abby is returning for Material Girls with special guest Mel Killingsworth.
Ooh.
Yeah, some mid-2000s Lizzie McGuire, Lizzie McGuire, Hilary Duff, the Duff sisters realness. It's going to be good shit.
And I'll be watching something else in theaters.
Material Girls. As we are living in a material girl.
Oh, I just remembered a film, Michelle, that we made together.
Hurry.
Dream Again.
Hurry. The music's coming up. It's getting louder,
A film that we
louder.
made called Dream Again will be screening in Melbourne at
Quick,
the Setting
Amy, quick.
Sun Film Festival.
I can hear them knocking on the
Out
door.
West. It's out west. Please go and watch it. It's a really beautiful film. Michelle did a really great job. It's a kids' film. It's got animation in it. It's at Setting Sun Festival and will also be at Melbourne International Animation Festival. Come and watch it. Come and see our work.
We're going.
It's good. It's good. Come on.